It was a search for connection during the lonely pandemic period. Barbara Grant went on an online dating site and found Michael Janda.
We started talking to each other. He said, "You are gorgeous. I want to be with you. I want to have a home with you in Victoria." He contacted me through LinkedIn and he said, "I can't come to Calgary. They've locked me up again." He was coming to the airport. I was going to pick him up. I then realized that it was a scam.
She lost $800,000.
A 75-year-old woman who was searching for love during the loneliest period in modern history, the pandemic, found a man online who called her gorgeous, who promised to build a home with her, who made her believe she had finally found her person. And by the time she realized he was a scammer who never existed, she had lost $800,000, every penny she had saved for retirement, leaving her with nothing but devastation and the crushing reality that she would have to go back to work at an age when she should be enjoying her golden years.
I have nothing left except what's left in my riff, and I'm devastated by it. Sorry. Absolutely devastated.
Barbara Grant from Calgary, Canada broke down while describing what these criminals took from her. She said she has nothing left except what remains in her RRIF, her Registered Retirement Income Fund, and that she is absolutely devastated by what happened, her voice cracking with emotion as she apologized for her tears while recounting the worst experience of her life. If this is your first time on this channel, hit that subscribe button right now, because this story exposes how romance scammers exploit loneliness with devastating precision, and understanding their tactics could save you or someone you love from losing everything. What makes Barbara's case particularly painful is the timing. She went looking for connection during the COVID-19 pandemic, a period when millions of people around the world were isolated, lonely, and desperate for human contact, and scammers knew exactly how to exploit that collective vulnerability. Barbara went on an online dating site, the same thing millions of people do every day hoping to find companionship, and there she found a man who called himself Michael Janda. From the very beginning, he said all the right things. He told her she was gorgeous. He said he wanted to be with her. He painted a picture of a future together with a home in Victoria. For Barbara, who was navigating the isolation of pandemic life, these words must have felt like a lifeline, like proof that connection was still possible even when the world felt so disconnected. The relationship moved quickly, as romance scams always do, and within just weeks of their first contact, Michael Janda revealed a problem that only Barbara's money could solve. He told her he had been arrested in Qatar and needed money to resolve the situation. This is the classic romance scam pivot. Build trust and emotional connection first, then manufacture a crisis that requires financial assistance. Barbara, believing she was helping the man she loved, sent money, and then she sent more, and then more again. Each time there was a new emergency, a new complication, a new reason why Michael couldn't come to her yet but would soon, just as soon as this one problem was solved. The request continued, and Barbara kept believing, kept hoping, kept sending money, because when you love someone, you help them, and she had no reason to believe this man wasn't exactly who he claimed to be. The discovery moment came with crushing clarity on what should have been one of the happiest days of Barbara's life. Michael had finally made plans to come to Calgary. He was going to fly in, Barbara was going to pick him up at the airport, and their online relationship was finally going to become real. She was probably nervous and excited, probably had imagined this moment countless times, probably planned exactly what she would say when she finally saw him in person. But instead of showing up at the airport, Michael contacted her through LinkedIn, a strange choice for someone supposedly boarding a plane, and told her he couldn't come to Calgary because they had locked him up again. In that moment, something finally clicked for Barbara. The pattern that she had been too hopeful to see suddenly became undeniable. She realized it was a scam. The man she had been talking to for months, the man she had sent hundreds of thousands of dollars to, the man she had planned a future with, he wasn't real. He had never been real. Everything had been a lie designed to extract as much money as possible before she figured out the truth. The financial damage was catastrophic, $800,000 gone. To put that in perspective, Barbara hired a private investigator who compiled a report documenting everything that happened. The report was 400 pages long, and Barbara noted with bitter precision that each page represented about $2,000 of money she lost. 400 pages of evidence, 400 pages of lies, 400 pages documenting the systematic destruction of her financial security. Barbara forwarded this comprehensive report to the Ombudsman for Banking Services and Investments, hoping that someone in the system would help her recover at least some of what was stolen. But her claim was denied. The reasons are frustratingly familiar to anyone who has studied these cases. Jurisdiction is a massive problem when criminals operate from overseas. Investigations are extremely costly for police departments that don't have budgets allocated for international fraud cases, and the money trail is deliberately designed to be untraceable. The scammers route stolen funds through what investigators call money mules, people who receive the transfers, take a percentage as payment for their role, and then shift the remainder overseas where it disappears into accounts that Canadian authorities cannot reach. Who's behind it all remains a mystery, and that mystery may never be solved. Barbara believes her bank, TD, should have done more to protect her and should take some responsibility for what happened. She argues that the bank has a fiduciary responsibility to her and should return at least some of her money. This argument gains additional weight when you consider TD's recent legal troubles. Last year, TD was fined $3.1 billion in the United States for what the U.S. government described as creating a convenient environment for bad actors to exploit high-risk customers. In Canada, a similar fine totaled $9.1 million. These massive penalties suggest that there were systemic failures in how the bank monitored and prevented suspicious transactions, yet individual victims like Barbara are told the bank bears no responsibility for their losses. The Better Business Bureau has emphasized that these crimes are severely underreported, which creates a dangerous gap in understanding how widespread the problem truly is. When victims don't report out of shame or hopelessness, authorities can't accurately track the scope of romance scam operations, can't allocate appropriate resources to combat them, and can't develop effective prevention strategies. Every unreported case makes it harder to fight these criminals and easier for them to find their next victim. Calgary police are still investigating Barbara's case, though public reporting doesn't indicate whether any arrests have been made or whether there's any realistic hope of recovering her money. The practical consequences for Barbara are devastating and immediate. At 75 years old, an age when she should be retired and enjoying the fruits of a lifetime of work, she will have to go back to work as a consultant this fall just to survive financially. She also sells paintings and dances. She's clearly a vibrant, active, interesting woman, quite a catch as the report noted. But all of that energy and talent will now have to be directed toward rebuilding financial security that should never have been destroyed. And perhaps the cruelest consequence of all is what the scam has done to Barbara's ability to trust and connect with others. When asked if she would try online dating again, her answer was emphatic. No, absolutely not. She has some good friends, and that's it. She doesn't really trust a lot of people anymore. The scammers didn't just steal her money. They stole her openness to love, her willingness to be vulnerable, her belief that connection with new people is worth the risk. For someone who went online specifically because she was lonely and seeking companionship, this loss of trust may be the deepest wound of all. Here are the critical warning signs from Barbara's case that everyone needs to understand. First, be extremely cautious of online relationships that escalate quickly with intense declarations of love and future plans. Scammers create artificial intimacy to build trust fast. Second, any romantic interest who claims to be arrested, hospitalized, stranded, or facing any emergency that requires your money is almost certainly running a scam. Third, requests for money that come within weeks or even months of meeting someone online should be automatic deal breakers regardless of how convincing the story sounds. Fourth, be suspicious of anyone who makes plans to meet in person but always has a last-minute reason why they can't follow through. Fifth, money sent through wire transfers or to overseas accounts is virtually impossible to recover. Once it's gone forever. Sixth, the fact that you've already sent money is not a reason to send more. Scammers count on victims feeling committed to recovering their investment by sending additional funds. If you found this story important and you want to protect yourself and the people you care about from similar devastation, please subscribe to this channel and share this video. Barbara Grant did nothing wrong except be lonely during a pandemic and hope that love was still possible, and criminals exploited that beautiful human hope to steal $800,000 and force a 75-year-old woman back into the workforce. The lesson here is not that we shouldn't seek connection or that loneliness is something to be ashamed of. The lesson is that we must verify online relationships before sending money. We must talk to family and friends about new romantic interests. And we must understand that the person on the other end of a screen may not be who they claim to be. Talk to the seniors in your life about romance scams. Create an environment where they feel comfortable sharing their online relationships without judgment. And remember that isolation makes people vulnerable in ways that scammers have learned to exploit with horrifying efficiency. Barbara had to learn to distrust at 75 years old. Make sure the people you love don't have to learn the same lesson the same way. This has been another investigation into how romance scammers destroy lives and how the systems meant to protect victims often fail them completely. Stay vigilant, stay connected to the people who care about you, and never send money to someone you've never met in person.